Hey guys, this is a review of the Korg nanoPAD2. This is a nice MIDI controller that has 16 different trigger pads which are velocity sensitive, and it also has an XY pad on the left here. We also have a bunch of buttons which control different options for both. I'm going to give you a few examples of how you can play with this MIDI controller today, and I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of using it. So as an example, I'm using Ableton Live, but this can work with any other DAW, really. I can use it to trigger drum samples like so. This just hooks up by default with an Ableton drum rack, for example. We can also use it with a synth plugin like Serum or effectively anything else. We can change the scene in the top right, which by default will alter the octave. Another example of using Isotope Iris 2. So that's the basic use of the Korg nanoPAD2. As I mentioned, it is velocity sensitive, so you can get slightly different sensitivity from the pads. They're not amazing, but they're still pretty decent. The more interesting functionality from the Korg nanoPAD2 comes with the XY pad. So by default, when you have the touch scale button here not pressed, the XY pad will alter the velocity and gate speed of the trigger buttons that you're pressing when you press the gate arp. Now let's move on to a synth instead, which would be a lot more interesting for this. So as we move right, we can see that the arpeggiator gate speed is increasing a lot. And also the velocity increases as you move further up. If you put on the touch scale button, this will, and the gate arpeggiator button, this will arpeggiate between a bunch of different scales, between 16 different scales that you see here. Over the pads, you can select the key and the scale. So you can press the key range, for example, that one is C, and I can select the scale here of minor, and there you're set up. When you're on the touch scale gate arpeggiator mode, moving across will alter the note number from left to right. Higher up on the XY pad will then alter the gate, or the gate time for it. So towards the end you can just about hear it, and there's much higher gate time there. We can move on to Isotope Iris, which sounds a lot nicer with this. And you can change the gate arpeggiator time. You can tap this slower, the scale tap. And you can also press the hold button, so it will hold the note when you stop pressing it, the XY pad. So that's just a quick overview of the features and what you get in the Korg nanoPAD2. If you're going to use the XY pad, then this is a good option to get. If you're not really going to use it, then it would probably be better to go for an alternative option, particularly if you're just looking for a MIDI drum pad. There are, I think, some better options when it comes to the pads themselves. So check in the description below. I have a link to a comparison of this compared to some other MIDI drum pads. And yeah, definitely check that out. Hope you found this review interesting and useful. And if you did, then please click the like and subscribe button, because that will help a lot. And yeah, if you have any questions, then ask in the comment section below. Thank you.